right, so Inebri-art, we are here with Jerome Blake, and Jerome is an actor who's been in many movies, including the Star Wars. Jerome's been in many movies, including the Star Wars prequels and Fifth Element, which is a personal favorite of mine. So how did you get started in the business of acting?
It was a combination of accident. Well, action, yes. Action, artifice, and accident.
Yeah.
I had been a musician, a bass player for 20-odd years.
Oh, okay.
And I decided...
What kind of music were you into?
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Rhythm and blues, heavy rock, country, traditional jazz. But pretty much the only thing I didn't get near was that astrophysics jazz that you have to have 5 PhDs in mathematics to play, you know?
Yeah.
Anything with soul, I guess. But I got to a point where I wanted to change. I wanted to play guitar, and I wasn't a very good guitar player. So I thought, well, the pragmatic approach is to have my own band, so nobody can fire me for not being a very good guitar player.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that's the route I went down. But of course, if you take on that challenge, you take on the responsibility of paying for everything and organising everything. So one of the things I did to support that project was motorcycle courier. And one of the clients of the courier firm I worked for was a modelling agency. And at the tender age of 36, I was invited to join this model agency.
Okay.
Which initially I thought they were joking, but they weren't. And I did some stills jobs for them. I did a TV commercial, then I did another TV commercial. And again, simply to support the band, I thought, well, if I'm getting this kind of work, if I go and study some, have some acting lessons and what have you, I might get some more TV commercials to keep the band going.
Right. It was all for the band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, having started into that process, I discovered that I really enjoyed the, acting game, if that's the right word, and found myself becoming more fascinated with that than just having this notional band on the side.
Yeah. And
so I started to push a little bit in that direction, and people gave me some recommendations, and the next thing I knew, I was on First Night with Richard Gere as Sean Connery. It was one of Connery's Royal Guards.
Oh, yeah, I remember that movie.
And that was the end of it, really. Having had that experience, I just thought, oh God, yeah, I love this. It's brilliant.
So no regrets that you like. I mean, do you still play music?
I do. Not so much.
Yeah.
But I still knock around on a guitar and still write songs occasionally. But having had that experience of working on a big movie, I was pretty much lost from that moment onwards.
Right.
And then following on from that, I did a corporate film for BMI Records when they existed, where I was required to use handguns and machine guns, and this captain from one of the parachute regiments was not only my weapons guy, but he was also my stunt double.
Yeah.
And he called me up one day and he said, I'm working on this film. They're looking for guys who have to be over 6'3", and you have to be physically strong. Blah, blah, blah. Here's the casting director's name. So I went after it, chased it up, and that was The Fifth Element.
Really?
And
when you were making that, did you realize that was like going to be as big and popular as it was? Or
no, it was a strange thing, because the whole thing was, like most filmmaking, is not linear.
Yeah, it's all kind of
depending on the weather or depending on who's available.
Yeah.
The schedule is a little messed up to begin with and gets even more messed up as you go along, usually.
Right.
So I was the
you were a Montechio.
I was the Montechio commander, but I was also the guinea pig for making the suits and seeing
okay.
how the suits could work and whether this was possible.
To see how long you could stand in it before you passed out or something?
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So in fact, I was actually working on that film even before we started filming.
Yeah.
I was working on it for maybe 5 months, not every day, but going to the studio twice a week, maybe. And they'd say, right, here are the legs. Can you walk in then? So I was actually.
Yeah, those look like incredibly difficult costumes to wear.
They were, and it
looks like a giant turtle, kind of.
Good description, actually. Yeah, I usually say it's like having a Volkswagen Beetle on your back. But a turtle. And it's in fact when you first see them on the Shiwan, and they, in the silhouette, and there's that kind of shimmering, back and forth movement sideways. That's because they were really heavy, those costumes. So and the only way you could really make them move was to kind of rock them, walking, but doing this rocking action at the same time, like if you're moving a big wardrobe or something.
Right. So you kind of like go and turn it.
Pivot. On the balls of your feet almost.
And now, if I remember correctly,
that's how we get that kind of.
Yeah. If I remember correctly from watching like the behind the scenes in that movie, there were video monitors inside those to see.
There were, yes.
Now, does that like really mess up your depth perception and things like that?
Because the suits, I mean, I can show you on this picture here, and obviously this is a great picture for podcast. But see, there's my face with the front of the head of
where the head was. Yeah.
So these suits are actually about. I'm 6'6", so these suits end up being about nearly 8 foot tall.
Yeah.
And a long way round as well.
Right.
So we had, in fact, that up there, that's where the video camera was.
Oh, so the video camera was above the head.
Above the head, yeah.
And your head was basically below that.
Where all the kitchen utensils are sticking out.
Yeah.
So the camera's there, and the monitor is on the back of the animatronic head here.
Yeah.
So not only have you got, that's how you see where you're going, but you also had comms with a wrangler who's on the radio, and because you have a limited view on that monitor, and the suits are so big, they would have to be counting down the steps. All right, and 3 steps, 2, 1, stop. That kind of thing. So it's a big team effort. It took about 3 people to get you into the suit in the first place, and then this guy looking after you. And on one occasion, there was we were doing I think it was the procession thing, where
when they walk in,
carrying the coffin type.
Oh yeah. So they're coming out of the temple.
Yeah. I think it was one of those scenes anyway where there's there was a line of us going like this, and I'm at the front, and the guy behind me, I don't know what happened. Maybe his comms went down, or his wrangler wasn't paying attention. But anyway, my guy says, "Okay, 3, 2, 1, stop." This guy behind me plows into the back of me.
And I gotta imagine that's just like a domino effect.
Well, it could have been.
Yeah.
And of course, your arms are down the arms of the suit here.
Right.
So you couldn't. If I'd gone forward, it would have been a full-on Mondo faceplant.
Right.
Which wouldn't have been good. And shall we say, there was some colourful language came out of my microphone.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And through the suit, I could hear Luc Besson laughing like
he's the director.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. In fact, that's Luc in the blue T-shirt there.
Yeah.
Nice. And he's laughing out loud. And then when he stops laughing, he goes, "Oh, John, that's very funny, but we can't use it in the film."
That's awesome. So you did a lot of character work for Star Wars. Do you kind of gravitate towards those roles with a lot of makeup and costuming, or
no?
They just kind of come to
you? It's with these, particularly on Star Wars, because I ended up playing 7 different characters on Phantom Menace, and some of them carried through the whole trilogy as well. It's a very complicated process. Most of this stuff is either made to your body cast or a head cast, because it's heavy, it needs to be supported, so it's tailored to your physique. And that's an expensive process. and also making the suits is a long process. And also, I think most importantly, because it's such a long process and so many people are involved, if you've got a good team of people, if you've got a team that works well, and you have someone that is happy to do more types of alien or whatever, as indeed I did 7, Silas Carson did, I think, 4 different characters, Alan Ruskell did 3 or 4 different. So if you've got people that already work well as a team, then it kind of makes sense to hold on to that team.
Right, yeah.
Rather than bring in somebody new and you don't know that there might not be that same chemistry.
Yeah.
There might be a personality clash somewhere. You know what I mean?
So, yeah. And I assume it would save a little bit of time. I never even thought of it till just now. But they make the initial face cast of you.
Yeah, they've already got.
They already got it, so they can just use it.
Right. If you like.
Yeah.
So it saves time, it saves money, which is obviously an important thing. But yeah, I think that point I was making about the teamwork is also, you can't really put a price on that. It's very important to have that.
Yeah. And so how does it feel to be involved in something like Star Wars that is such ingrained in people's lives and pop culture? And
it's all the way through this process, and it dawned on me a couple of months ago that my involvement with Star Wars started 20 years ago. In July of this year, it's 20 years. And immediately, I have to say, in response to your how does it feel, I'm still part of that journey. I'm still right in this moment right now talking with you.
Right.
Is part of that journey, and it's still fun. I still.
If you blew off that modeling thing, that opportunity that presented itself, and you're like, no, I'm a bicycle courier, and I'm going to put this band together.
Motorcycle.
Oh, motorcycle. All right. You wouldn't be here.
No, exactly.
And it's,
it was one of those fork in the road moments.
Right.
No, it's I developed an expression many, many years ago. For example, like these Comic-Con things, I've been coming to them now for 17 years. And I have this expression, it's a pinch me moment.
Yeah.
And regularly, even, as recently, I don't know, I can't remember, last month or something.
Yeah.
No, I can peg it for you. It was just down the road from here. It was in Hartford, Connecticut.
Okay, yeah.
And this young lad came up to me first thing in the morning. First guy came to the table. He said, "I've waited my whole life to meet you." I said, "Why?" He said, "When The Phantom Menace came out, I was about 5 years old."
Yeah.
And he said, when the battle droids were activated, off of those rack things, he said, my mother tells me that I drove her mad because I kept saying, rewind, play that again.
Yeah.
And he was learning how to do the battle droid unfold movement, right?
Yeah.
And so he said, I waited since I was 5 years old to meet you because you're the guy that says, activate the droids.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
I'm getting a chill even telling you that. See what I mean? And I was going, what?
It's very surreal.
It's surreal, but it's also humbling.
Yeah.
And quite magnificent, And by this time, his two sisters had shown up.
Yeah.
And they were looking at me going, is he going on about the battle droids? I said, yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And then I said to him, can you still do it? And he stopped him in his tracks a bit, and he said, I don't know. I said, go on, give it a go.
Yeah.
So he stepped back from the table and just closed his eyes for a moment, and you could see him kind of
put himself back in that moment.
Yeah, getting back in that place.
Yeah.
And then he did it. He unfolded himself like a battle droid.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Priceless.
Did you at least give him the command?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, nice.
No, he insisted. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, like I said, that was a pinch me moment, and it also, it comes under the heading of, do you remember Richard Le Parmentier, who was Admiral Motti?
Yeah.
The guy with the throbbing neck.
Yeah.
With Vader. He became a great friend of mine, God rest his soul. And we used to refer to moments like that as "Thank you, George" moments.
Thank you, George.
Yeah. You know, like without Star Wars, you would not have a moment like that where a complete stranger comes up to you and tells you that you had a positive effect on their life.
Yeah.
You know, 20 years ago or whatever.
It's weird. I was just telling a story to my friend, and so we have the podcast that we've been running for about a year and a half, and we have an art group. I'm from Plymouth, Mass.
Yeah.
And so they have a big Thanksgiving Day parade. And I was there with my kids, and this person stops me, and they're like, "Oh, I don't mean to interrupt, but you know, I'm a really big fan." And I just kind of tilted my head and looked at him. I'm like, "I'm sorry." And he's like, "Oh, I'm following you online, and this, that, and the other thing." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks." And like, he walked off, and I turned to my kids and I'm like, "You saw that happen, right?"
Yeah,
you know, it's very weird because, you know, even on a smaller level,
well,
it's
not about the scale of the thing.
Yeah,
it's
but it's just so flattering.
If you can, or have, not can, that's the wrong way of putting it. If you've had a positive effect on a person's life, remotely, you know, that is
without even meeting them.
Yes,
you know,
that is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's, you know, people talk a lot about love and hope and all the rest of it, but things like that are an actual physical example of the principle of love and joy and, you know, giving and that kind of stuff.
So in order to expand on that and influence more people, like, what kind of advice can you give people? I'm sure people ask you all the time, like, how do I get into Star Wars? But like even kind of how would they get into an acting career, or kind of find, how do you accidentally find that thing that you love?
Well, as you know, in my case, it was purely a combination of accident, action, and artifice. You know, once that door had been opened a little bit to me that I didn't even know was there, because I never wanted to be an actor.
Right.
But it's a question of when that happens, like you said a minute ago, if that had not come along, then I would not be sitting here now having this conversation with you.
Right.
And it's a choice. You know, I could have said, no, it's the band is the thing. I'll just do this occasionally just to bring some money in. But I actually found a thing that still thrills me. You know, I have no definite work at the moment. Yeah. Which is a bit unnerving, you know, because everybody's got bills to pay.
Of course,
if you want to make donations at www.
Is there like a Patreon or
something? But it doesn't affect the fact that I'm still, you know, something is coming around the corner. I don't know what. Yeah. And I will be as enthusiastic about that as I was about the very first thing I did. Yeah. You know, it's some people call it a blessing, some people call it a curse, but it gets into your blood. And I know people that try to shake it off. You know, they go, "Oh, it's not working out. I'm not making any money," but it's still there.
It's still there.
Do you know what I mean? So to answer your question about any aspiring actors, the first and flippant answer would be don't.
We've had that advice given before, and I feel that's really valid, because if you're passionate, that don't is going to fall on deaf ears, and you're going to do it anyways.
No, I'm but it's, you know, it's not for the faint-hearted. Yeah, you know, it's you know, when it's the best job in the world when you've got a job. Yeah, it's incredibly hard to stay in full-time work. It's getting harder to stay in full-time work as an actor. But if you feel it, then, you know, be prepared to sacrifice. You know, you will face challenges where you have to let other things in your life go or slide, you know, like cars, homes, wives.
Yeah,
you know,
wives.
That kind
multiple.
Not personally.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
But you know, no, I know. Yeah. I know people whose marriages have completely failed because their dedication to the craft, as they call it.
And some people, you know, marry someone out of love and can't handle the adversity of the lifestyle. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I got to fly out for 4 weeks and film something, or you know.
Or conversely, you know, you haven't made any money in 6 months. Well,
right.
You know, what's going on?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Maybe you should get a real job.
When are you going to get a proper job?
Yeah.
So all of that. But if you know, you are so inclined, if you feel the passion, then give it a shot, because when it's right, when it's working, it is a fantastic thing. You know, it really is. You know, it's no surprise that theatre has been around since, you know, the ancient Greeks and even further back than that. It's an art form that speaks to the human condition. You know, I know there's a lot of trashy stuff around, and sometimes the trashy stuff is valid.
Sometimes you need trashy stuff to just sit back and relax.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not getting on my Shakespearean high horse or anything. You know, for example, I'm a huge fan of Family Guy.
Okay.
You know, South Park and things like that. You know, just. They're just superb. I wish I could come up with something.
South Park
like
is amazing.
Yeah,
and
it still is.
The turnaround time on it is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it still is amazing after what, 20 some odd years?
Something like that. Yeah,
more. It's incredible. But it's, you know, it's important. You know, what I call my acting mentor is a Sicilian American guy called Charles Serio. He was part of that whole New York living theatre actor studio thing in the 60s.
Yeah.
Went on to become a director. I think he's got a couple of Emmys for some of his work.
Oh, nice.
But you know, he once we were talking outside of the work environment, and he used this word. He said, "Always remember this. It's important. You know, it doesn't matter if it's comedy or drama or satire, or you know, it serves a very important role in human life. You know, and so to anyone out there that feels that they've been bitten by the bug, or they are going to go out and try and get bitten by the bug, okay, good luck. Buckle up."
So you said you're not working on any projects. So you're not involved in new Star Wars movies, or is there potential for that?
I was. Actually, I am not permitted to say.
Oh, okay, yeah. Don't say anything.
The only thing I can say, because it's still in the future.
Yeah.
And again, it speaks to my undying optimism. The one thing that I'm told by people who know more about this than I do is that one of my characters from the prequel trilogy, Masamida, the Vice Chancellor of the Galactic Senate, who for this weekend, given that we are in Marlborough, I'm now deciding to call him Massachusetts this weekend. It's feasible that he could come back in episode 9.
Yeah.
That would be a magnificent thing. I would love to have another shot at that, because, for example, in The Phantom Menace, the Galactic Senate scene, where you first see Masamida and Chancellor Valoran, that scene went on for about 5-6 minutes. Yeah. And there was a load of dialogue back and forth between me and Bail Organa and this, that, and the other. And it got chopped right down to a very short scene, you know. But it was the first thing I ever did on a Star Wars movie, and you can believe I was having a little bit of, a nervous moment about that. Because there was a lot of stuff. You know? So, from a kind of nostalgic, but also a looking forward point of view, that would be a fantastic thing, you know, if I could get another crack at him.
And the Star Wars prequels are pretty well known to have been filmed in a lot of green screen.
Yeah.
And I don't believe Fifth Element was. I feel that was more practical sense. Do you have a preference to one? Is one easier than the other? Or?
No, it's over the course of the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
There was increasingly more CGI.
Yeah.
So on Phantom Menace, it was quite traditional filmmaking to a certain extent because there were sets.
Okay.
You know, like the Galactic Senate pods did exist.
Okay.
Not 600 of them.
Right, but
you know,
you were standing in one.
There were 3 or 4,
yeah.
I think. And blue screen, as it was on that one, was used for, you know, like the vistas, those big sweeping grasslands, and the forests of, was it Naboo?
Yeah.
So all of that was blue screen. But the foreground stuff was actually built, the environment.
Yeah.
By the time I did my bits on Revenge of the Sith, completely green screen. So,
which did you? I mean, I feel like you would obviously prefer the
do you know what? As a performer, it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah.
What does bother me is that I've yet to see a film where they use CG for foreground action that convinces me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it goes back to theatre. If you and I went to the theatre tonight, and on the left-hand side of the stage, there's a piece of plywood with a long brown stalk like this, and at the top it flares out and it's painted green.
Yeah.
For 2 hours, you, me, and the performers have a tacit agreement that that's a tree.
Right.
And so you invest, even as an observer, you invest yourself in the suspension of disbelief that is a tree. My theory is that if that was digitally created, if it was projected or something like that, as animals, we don't respond to that in the same way. I don't think we connect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sounds contradictory because obviously the digital one would look more like a tree.
Right.
But I don't think we engage with it.
See, I always feel like the digital stuff is too perfect.
Yes.
Like, nature is not, it's very imperfect, it's random, and when you have something that's manufactured, that imperfection, that randomness carries over, that computers just kind of can't get. And I feel like that that sometimes even the simpler sets
I agree. Like, even in the first Star Wars movie, you know, that famous incident where one of the stormtroopers bangs his head.
Right.
And then they decided to take that out, you know, correct it. Why?
Right.
You know, it's...
That happens.
What, you think that stormtroopers in the Second World War didn't bang their heads?
Right. Yeah.
And also, it speaks to, if you like, even within the context of that film, you know, when Leia sees, what is revealed as Luke. In a stormtrooper thing, she says, "Aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper?"
Right.
So the fact that one of the stormtroopers bangs his head
makes sense because he's tall. Right,
is just... What?
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
You almost could have written it in the script.
And I feel like sometimes it's the technology now where we can pause and rewatch something and overanalyze really takes away something from, you know, it's not really meant for that, you know, they're not to be scrutinized and picked apart. You need to get like the overall feeling.
It's a contradiction in a sense because the behind the scenes, you know, the making of the Phantom Menace, I think I appear in it about 3 times. But personally, I don't like to watch those kind of things. I don't want to know how they did it. You know what I mean? Like when I saw the behind the scenes of Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Okay.
When the truck blows up,
Yep.
and it falls over on its side, and they show you how they did it
With the telephone pole they shoot out of the bottom. Yeah.
The first 3 times I saw that movie when it came out, it was, that the truck's blown up and it's gone over, and I'm still in the moment. I'm still, rooting for Indy to get away.
Yeah.
Having seen that documentary, every time I see that now, all I'm looking at is the telegraph pole.
Yep.
And my suspension of disbelief has gone, and I've got to get it back again.
Right.
To get back to enjoying
into
the film.
Movie. Yeah. So sometimes knowing too much.
I don't like to watch behind the scenes stuff. And also, I mean, contradiction again, because here I am talking to you. But when people go on promotional junkets for a movie coming out, and they're talking about, my character this and this and the other. La 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 la.
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
I don't want to. I want to see a trailer that is just enough information to get me to want to see the movie. Yeah. I don't want to see anything else. Sometimes it's very if you're familiar with the characters, it's very little. I need to go see that.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes they give you way too much.
There was. What was on the other day? White Heat. Jimmy Cagney. And towards the end of the scene, towards the end of the film, there's a scene where this tanker trailer blows up.
Okay.
And it's very convincing, blowing up. Now, if there had been a making of White Heat, and they showed you how they did it, you know, and and it cuts away to Jimmy Cagney picking his nose while he's reading the paper. Do you know what I mean? It kind of unravels the
fantasy and the mystery.
Mystery, that's the word. So, you know, I much prefer to just watch things, you know, and just go, it either works or it doesn't, you know, and that's it.
Nice. Well, Jerome, is there somewhere where our listeners can go and find you online? Is there, your website? Or
my website is down and being reconstructed at the moment, but they can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook I use, but Facebook, I take it literally. You know, people say, I've got 2,000 friends on Facebook. I have about 15, I think.
15 friends?
Yeah. Because I kind of think, that's what it is. It's me sharing a joke with my friends.
Right.
Type of deal, you know. So
it's a personal thing. It's not like networking type.
Exactly. Because most of the people I know that use Facebook do it exactly like that.
We do it a lot for networking.
It's almost like sending it. I know. You know, Ford Motor Company has a Facebook, but personally, it's just like sending a postcard to your mates, kind of thing. But if anything that I'm doing out in the wider world, I try, like for example, for this event, I tailor-made 2 specific tweets on Twitter. You know, I try and keep that interesting. I try and sort of make it a bit funny and appropriate to the specific thing that's going on. So if your listeners want to find out if I'm doing anything, then Twitter's probably the best place to
And what's your Twitter handle?
Jerome STJ Blake.
STJ Blake. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Absolutely,
and,
my
absolute
pleasure. Could I tell you, when I said I haven't got any, work absolutely set at the moment. But and this comes back to any of your listeners that are interested in the business. Within the last month, an old friend of mine has invited me to go to Japan to help him launch the career of an actress friend of his.
Oh, wow.
And what he wants me to do is to do some scenes from Shakespeare's The Tempest. Prospero is the character. But he wants me to do it in Japanese.
Do you speak Japanese?
I do not.
Okay.
I can get, hello, how are you?
Right.
The basic courtesies, yes, I can do. But he wants me to learn some Shakespeare in Japanese, and so that we can do this scene, to promote, shoot the scene for her, kind of thing.
So
fantastic challenge, and I'm loving the idea of it. You know, talk about a gauntlet being thrown down.
Is someone going to like record the lines and you're going to learn it phonetically, or are you going to?
I've already dug out a copy of The Tempest, and I've already done some using a Japanese translator on the internet. I've started to sketch out some scenes that I think would work.
Yeah.
I sent them to my friend, and he came back and he said, "Do you remember?" I think the band was Styx had a record called Domo Arigato.
Yeah, Mr. Roboto. Yeah.
That was his response. He went, Domo Arigato, Mr. ...
Yeah.
And I went, Roboto? Question mark. He went, hey, Roboto. I sent you proper translation.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was all a bit clunky.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited about that. And even today, somebody has told me about a specific Star Wars event that's going to be happening around the time of the release of The Last Jedi.
Oh, cool.
Forget what they said now. Somewhere in Massachusetts.
Oh, Ninja Marshmallow.
Is it?
In Taunton, yes.
Taunton, yeah. So, just because I'm here today, I've had another invitation to something that if I wasn't here, I wouldn't have got invited to.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if I can make that yet, but I would very much like to.
Nice. Well, if you do make it, hopefully we'll get over there, because that's not far from where we are.
Fantastic.
That same person just told us about it, so we're going to try and make there. So, but thanks again for talking to us.
My pleasure. Look forward to seeing you again.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's Miller time now, I guess. Thanks for listening to the Inebri-art podcast. And if you get a chance, we have Jam Packed with Matt and Jeff, another podcast that we put out where they review and talk about all things horror movie related. And then starting in September, we have two more podcasts coming out. The Bar Talk, hosted by Carl and Jordan. And they'll be talking to bartenders and owners and restaurant staff of all kinds about the crazy things they go through. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then we also have the Old Colony Cast, another weekly podcast about all things Plymouth and surrounding areas, events, anything going on, interesting people. So if you're a tourist or you live in the area, make sure you check that one out for all sorts of cool stuff. And thanks for listening.